Yeah. Om Jnanatimirandasya Vinantyana Shalakaya Takshur Anvitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vandeham Shri Guru Shriyata Parikamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Ragana Tantam Sajiva Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sayatam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kantana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavan Ishwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Prananami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasava Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 1, Chapter 2, and the text for today is text 21, Prabhuji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Would you like to read those two Sanskrit verses?
Yes, Prabhuji. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaivam narottanam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirate nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Hare Krishna. So we are on text 21. Prabhuji, would you like us to read the shloka and the translation and purport and then hand over to you, Prabhuji?
All right.
Hare Krishna. Pramila Mataji, would you like to read the text 21? Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Mataji, I don't want to read the text.
And would you like to read the translation and purport?
Yeah, yes, I can do that. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll read the text and then you can read the translation and purport. Sandhya Mataji, would you like to do word to word? Hare Krishna.
Oh, Kritika Mataji, I don't have the book with me and I'm not in front of a computer, so I'm very sorry for today.
Not a problem.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so I'll read the text and the word to word, and then Pramila Mataji will read the translation and purport. Piyate hradaya granthis chidyaste sarva samsaya krishyante kasya karmani drishta evatmanisware. Vidyante.
Vidyate.
Vidyate, pierced.
Yes.
Hridaya,
Hridaya.
heart.
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 Granthi,
Granthi.
knots.
Knots.
Chidyante,
Chidyante.
cut to pieces.
Cut to pieces.
Sarva,
Sarva.
all. Samsayaha,
Samsayaha.
misgivings.
Misgivings.
Shyante,
Shyante.
terminated.
terminated.
Cha
Cha
and
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 asya
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 karma his
is
is
karmani
karma
karmani,
chain of fruitive actions.
chain
chain
of
of fruitive actions.
Rishta
Rishte,
Rishta,
having seen.
having
having
seen
seen.
Eva
Eva,
certainly.
certainly
Certainly.
Atmani
Atmani
Atmani,
unto the self.
unto the
unto
self.
the
unto the
self,
self.
Ishvare
Ishvare,
Ishvara
Vare,
dominating.
dominating.
dominating. Thus the nut in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. The purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Attaining scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead means seeing one's own self simultaneously. As far as the identity of the living being as spirit self is concerned, there are a number of speculations and misgivings. The materialist does not believe in the existence of the spirit self, and empiric philosophers believe in the impersonal feature of the whole spirit without individuality of the living beings. But the transcendentalists affirm that the soul and the supersoul are two different identities, qualitatively one, but quantitatively different. There are many other theories, but all these different speculations are at once cleared off as soon as Sri Krishna is realized in truth by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Sri Krishna is like the sun, and the materialist speculations about the absolute truth are like the darkest midnight. As soon as the Krishna sun is arisen within one's heart, the darkness of materialistic speculations about the absolute truth and the living beings is at once cleared off. In the presence of the sun, the darkness cannot stand, and the relative truths that were hidden within the dense darkness of ignorance become clearly manifested by the mercy of Krishna, who is residing in everyone's heart as the super soul. Mataji, shall I continue?
Yes, continue.
Okay. In the Bhagavad Gita 10.11, the Lord says that in order to show special favor to his pure devotees, he personally eradicates the dense darkness of all misgivings by switching on the light of pure knowledge within the heart of a devotee. Therefore, because of the personality of Godhead taking charge of illuminating the heart of his devotee, certainly a devotee engaged in the service in transcendental love cannot remain in darkness. He comes to know everything of the absolute and the relative truths. The devotee cannot remain in darkness, and because a devotee is enlightened by the personality of Godhead, his knowledge is certainly perfect. This is not the case for those who speculate on the absolute truth by dint of their own limited power of approach. Perfect knowledge is called parampara, or deductive knowledge, coming down from the authority to the submissive oral receiver who is bona fide by service and surrender. One cannot challenge the authority of the Supreme and know him also at the same time. He reserves the right of not being exposed to such a challenging spirit of an insignificant spark of the whole, a spark subjected to the control of illusory energy. The devotees are submissive, and therefore the transcendental knowledge descends from the personality of Godhead to Brahma, and from Brahma to his sons and disciples in succession. This process is helped by the supersoul within such devotees. That is the perfect way of learning transcendental knowledge. This enlightenment perfectly enables the devotee to distinguish spirit from matter, because the knot of spirit and matter is untied by the Lord. This knot is called ahankara, and it falsely obliges a living being to become identified with matter. As soon as this knot is loosened, therefore, all the clouds of doubt are at once cleared off. One sees his master and fully engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, making a full termination of the change of fruitive action. In material existence, a living being creates his own chain of fruitive work and enjoys the good and bad effects of those actions, life after life. But as soon as he engages himself in the loving service of the Lord, he at once becomes free from the chain of karma. His actions no longer create any reaction. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji, for reading the translation and purport. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. We hand over to you.
Thank you. I offer my respect to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord and my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. So today's text is number 21 in chapter 2 of the first canto. Vijite Vidya Grantis Chidyanti Sarvasam Chaya Shyante Chasya Karmani Drista Eva Manishwari. And the translation, thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. So in the previous text, it's describing that by engaging in devotional service, one rises to the mode of goodness, and one's mind becomes illuminated with self-realization and spiritual knowledge. And by this spiritual knowledge, this text explains that the knot in our heart that binds us to the cycle of birth and death is pierced, our doubts are destroyed, and the chain of karma is terminated. But by understanding Krishna as the Supreme Master. Srila Prabhupada discusses in the purport, in the very first sentence, that by attaining scientific knowledge of Krishna, we see our own self simultaneously. Just as when the sun rises and the darkness is gone, we can see ourselves and we can see things around us. Because we are part of Krishna, just like our hand is part of the body, by understanding Krishna, we understand ourselves completely in terms of our identity. And Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain that as far as our identity, there are different conceptions. People have different ideas about who we are and what this world is. And by understanding God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, we are in the best position to understand ourselves. And Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain that Sri Krishna is like the sun, and as the sun of Krishna rises in our heart, then the darkness of ignorance is removed. The same point. Om Jnana Timirandasya, Jnanangana Shalakaya, Takshur Anvilitam Dena, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. This prayer offering respects to our spiritual master who's opened our darkened eyes. And in the Guru Puja bhajan, we sing that the spiritual master is filling our heart with transcendental knowledge. Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoiti Avidya, Avidya Vinasha Jate. Avidya Vinasha. The spiritual master destroys avidya. And how does he do that? Just as it's explained here, by connecting us to Krishna. Ultimately, it is Krishna, of course, who delivers everyone. Lord Krishna, one of Lord Krishna's name is Mukunda, one who gives liberation. On behalf of Krishna, the spiritual master gives us the process which is given by Krishna and teaches us how to follow that process given by Krishna so that we may reawaken our understanding of Krishna. And by doing that, everything becomes clear. Our identity, of course, is very, very important. When someone has a significant head injury, sometimes they suffer amnesia and they forget. They just forget their name, their parents, where they live, everything. And it's not that those things don't exist. They actually forget. So because they are forgetful, they can't have the same kind of relationship that they had before. Even if their children or their parents or a husband and wife come to see them, they can't relate with them because they have no idea, no remembrance of the relationship. Specifically, they have no remembrance of their identity. That I am the wife of this man, I am the husband of this wife, I am the parent of this child. It is their identity. Imagine if we're living in India, suppose we're a citizen of India, and we get a letter in the mail that we are wanted, the government of China wants us to go and fight some war for China. That you must come to the military and fight to protect the country. Will we be very enthusiastic to do that? Probably not, for a number of reasons. But one of the reasons is that we don't identify ourselves as a resident of China. If we were called, if the Prime Minister of India calls that there's some attack, everyone must defend the country, we might be very enthused because we identify ourselves as a citizen of India. I am Indian. And because of that identity, it is so pivotal how we identify ourselves. A mother or father, although they may hear another child call for help and they will help, it's not the same as when their own child calls for help. Because they don't identify themselves, they don't have that identity that I am the mother or father of this child. How we identify ourselves has a tremendous determination of what we do and what we value. As we change our identity or conception of identity, and as we change as we may change our perspective of what reality is, automatically everything else changes. Everything rests upon our conception of identity and our conception of what reality is. People who take some hallucinogenic drug, and because of that drug, their senses work in strange ways, they may see a giant spider attacking them. And for them, it's very real because that's their conception of reality. This is, of course, most of the time, they're able to remember that this is just a drug, but sometimes they don't. And they are horribly terrified for hours. So as we wake up to the reality of our relationship to Krishna, then we think, oh, I am related to Krishna. There is Krishna, there is God, I'm related to God, and then automatically what we do and what we want will change. When we see that ourselves or someone else doesn't seem to be enthusiastic to serve Krishna, they're not interested to participate in temple activities. They don't seem very interested when asked, would you like to help at the temple? Or would you like to do this service? Or within our own mind, when we find our own mind is not very enthusiastic, it's because we're forgetting our identity. It's very simple. If we are thinking, I am the disciple of my spiritual master, I am a servant of Krishna, my identity is, and the best benefit of my life is to be engaged in Krishna's service, then we'll do that to our best ability. There may be some obstacle that may prevent us, but at least within our mind, we'll be enthusiastic. When we lose enthusiasm to serve Krishna, there must be, except for some temporary obstacle, if there isn't enthusiasm within our heart, it must be that we have forgotten to some degree our relationship with our spiritual master and Krishna. And the solution is to revive our remembrance of our spiritual master and Krishna, especially our spiritual master at this point, because we don't know Krishna very well to some degree. But we do know our spiritual master. We do know advanced devotees. And if we forget our relationship, and if we lose appreciation for our spiritual master and devotees, then of course we're not going to be as enthusiastic to be a devotee. I'm just making this point that there's not some very complicated reason why we have enthusiasm or don't have enthusiasm. Why there aren't more people at the temple? Why aren't there more people at the temple? Because there's not that many people identifying that I'm a devotee of Krishna or a devotee of God, or specifically the manifestation of God as Krishna. It's very simple. Therefore, this Srimad Bhagavatam, it's begun. We just heard a chapter and more about how devotional service primarily has to do with hearing about Krishna, learning about Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada instructed the leaders of ISKCON especially, and the managers of ISKCON to do what they could, do what they can to encourage themselves and all the devotees to enthusiastically chant and hear about Krishna. Because that will be the best insurance for maintaining and increasing the strength of a devotee community and our own enthusiasm, along with following the other principles. In this text, in this purport, it's describing in a very broad philosophic way how by coming to know Krishna, then we understand ourselves and we engage ourselves in Krishna's service. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain that this process of learning about Krishna, it happens in parampara, it happens by hearing from authorities, because God is, and we are spirit. We can't even see cell phone signals. We can't even see ultraviolet sun rays. There's so many things we can't see. So we can't see spirit. We can have some logical understanding of spirit, but right now, most of us, we can't see spirit. We have to hear about it, just as we may not have visited, the island of Madagascar, but someone could tell us about it, that it looks like this, and there's this, and then we'll know. So this is the way of understanding Krishna, especially in the beginning, is that we have to hear from someone who does know Krishna. What's that verse? Kadviri prani parshena sevya upadakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that one must accept a spiritual master in order to understand me fully. And he is jnaninas tattvadarshana. He has seen me. He knows me. So this is the process. We have to be submissive. This is the way Lord Krishna is conquered. In the 10th canto, in the 14th chapter, Lord Brahma offers many prayers. And in one of those prayers, he describes that you are not to be understood for even millions of years of thinking about you, trying to figure you out. That isn't the way. We can get some idea. But to understand Krishna as fully as possible, people have to throw away this confidence that they can understand very much about God by their own efforts, and instead submissively hear. It's such a simple thing. Just take the example of that island of Madagascar off the coast of Africa. So we could spend a lot of time guessing what it's like. Someone might say, how many tall buildings over 4 stories are there in Madagascar? So we could think about it, but we could only go so far. It is only if someone tells us, or if we read in some book, or we go on the internet, and that information will come from someone who has seen it. So ultimately, we are all learning from those who have already come to understand something. It is by submissively learning. And submissive doesn't mean not asking questions. when the spiritual master talks about Krishna, we may have some doubts or some questions. And so that's perfectly okay. And so we ask, well, I'm not sure I understand it. So Srila Prabhupada speaks about this, that devotees are submissive, and therefore transcendental knowledge descends from Krishna to Brahma, and from Brahma all the way down into cyclic succession. And as we hear this transcendental knowledge, even theoretically, we accept that, yes, this is true. I accept it. There is Krishna. I am part of Krishna. I'm a spiritual being. And automatically our life and our desires will change. And as we develop realization, we'll become more steady, of course, because we're operating on, in the beginning, we're operating more upon confidence. We have confidence by logical reasoning and by some experience. And so we have confidence that this is true. But that confidence is not as deep as it will be in the future. And as we go on hearing about Krishna and following the sadhana, then we will get more personal realization. And our confidence will become more strong. And we won't be as deviated as we were before. We'll be more fixed. We come more to the stage of nishta, or firm faith. So this firm faith develops by loyally, obediently, patiently following the sadhana of Krishna consciousness, by chanting Hare Krishna and following the regular principle, the whole program. Then gradually, Srila Prabhupada tells us, and Lord Krishna tells us, that gradually, Srila Prabhupada even wrote in a letter, I read the letter, so he wrote to one devotee, he said, you go on practicing Krishna consciousness, go on hearing about Krishna, go on associating with devotees, taking prasadam, doing some service to help the missionary movement, and the sun of Lord Krishna will rise in your heart just like the sun rises in the morning. And you will understand everything. It is Lord Krishna who enlightens us. Tesham satatam yuktinam bhajitam priti korvakam. There's another verse also in the 10th chapter where Lord Krishna says that I'm in the hearts of everyone and I illumine, I clear away the darkness of ignorance of the devotees. So this is in the hands of God. He can reveal anything to us. A few times the question was asked to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, do you know everything? Do you know how many windows there are in all the skyscrapers of London? So he said, I can know that if Krishna wants me to know. Because Krishna knows. Krishna knows everything. There are a few notable narratives. One about Srila Gorakishora Das Babaji, the great grand spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. So he was in Mayapur, and he would chant at least 64 rounds a day, and all he did all day was chant Hare Krishna and meditate on Krishna. So one time he said to one brahmachari who was staying with him, he said, there is a goat in Vrindavan that's eating the tulsi bush. I have seen it. So Vrindavan is many hundreds of miles away from West Bengal, from Mayapur. So actually, the brahmachari told someone, and that person sent a telegram. They didn't have internet back then or texting. So they sent another kind of electronic message, a telegram. And he asked, he said, on this day, was there a goat eating the tulsi bush, the plant? And yes, there was a goat. So he saw that. There's many examples. Lord Brahma saw the whole creation within his heart. Mother Dashoda saw the whole creation and everything by looking in Lord Krishna's mouth. Sanjaya, when he was describing to Dhritarashtra about the battle of Kurukshetra, Sanjaya was not there, but he saw it within his heart, just like we watch the television or a video. And we have experience of this ourselves in a small way. We may be looking for the keys to our car, and we don't know where they are. And all of a sudden we remember, oh, that's where they are. It's in the coat pocket. I gave the coat to someone to wash. That's where it is. And we know exactly where it is. So why should we remember such a thing? And Krishna knows. So Krishna can remind us, Krishna can let us understand anything. And as we advance in devotional life, if Krishna feels that it's helpful, or even if we want to understand it, Krishna can let us have understand as all the different things that he knows. So the process of pleasing Krishna, it is an awakening of a kind of mystic power. And as we go on serving Krishna with devotion, he lets us see ourselves. Ultimately, our spiritual eyes will open and we'll be able to see Krishna in his original form. So Srila Prabhupada ends his purport saying that as we understand our identity and engage in the loving service of Krishna, then we become free from the chain of karma. From the Bhagavad Gita, we learn that karma means to act selfishly, that I'm doing this for my pleasure, or I'm trying to get free of suffering for my pleasure. The focus is ourself. And it can even something which is good. I'm going to help this elderly person cross the street. It's a good thing to do. That's also karma. It's good, but it also binds us to the cycle of birth and death. What frees us from karma is acting for the pleasure of Krishna. Krishna will be pleased if I help this elderly person cross the street. Krishna will be pleased by my practicing compassion and kindness. Krishna will be pleased by my caring for my wife and husband and children. The first thing is pleasing Krishna. That is akarma. There's no there's less selfish intent. But we can't think like that unless we have some understanding of our relationship to Krishna. So the bottom line is we have to just go on following this sadhana, especially hearing about Krishna, so that we remember who we are. So I'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Some discussion?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for today's discourse. And I open up the discussion. If there's any questions or comments, kindly unmute and ask. Prabhuji, I particularly liked when you say amnesia, because that's really the state we are in. At least us, we are in that we have forgotten who we are, definitely. And now also when we have been told and we have been listening and we know about our karma, we still forget. We still forget. There are so many times that you do things because to satisfy, you are doing still karmas, you are doing things to satisfy yourself. So
Yes.
I guess we need a lot of practice, or do we need a lot of hearing I think it's a continuous process. Or Prabhuji, is there any magic that we can just remember Krishna all the time?
I can only share. We can refresh our remembrance of Srila Prabhupada's advice in that Nectar of Instruction book, that very small little book. He says, by following these different instructions, we will be successful. And that is given to us by Rupa Goswami, actually. And it's guidance how to be successful in practicing devotional service. One important point that we could think about is that the more we please our spiritual master, the more that we can be blessed by any devotee, but especially our spiritual master and advanced devotees and other pure devotees. Prahlad Maharaj says that there is no possible way, there is no way to change our mental habit of forgetting Krishna without receiving on our head the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee. So that's a very valuable piece of advice. That so what does that mean? Does that mean we when an advanced devotee visits, we get their shoes and put the dust on our head? Yeah, that's part of it. But the meaning is that we want the blessings of the devotee. We want the devotee to think, oh, what can I do for you? May I please have a drop of Krishna Prema? Tatastu, may it be yours. So we want to please pure devotees, not just our spiritual master. We can pray to previous pure devotees. We worship Tulsi every day. We can pray to the members of the Pancha Tattva, Shri Advaita, Gadadhar, Shivas, Hanuman. We can please them by singing bhajan, saying prayers, and asking them. We please the spiritual master by just following his instructions, by sincerely trying to be Krishna. The spiritual master is pleased when he sees us developing devotion. And whatever we can do, well, there's two other things. One is, let's start at the beginning. So number one, by our sincerity to develop Krishna consciousness and following the basic practices, that pleases the spiritual master automatically. And just like in school, like when you go to school, in high school or college, there's something, they often give extra credit. That if you want to do this special project, I will give you extra blessing, right? So we will please our spiritual master just by chanting and following the regular principles. And if we want to be in the accelerated program, if we want to fast track, there is that's what you're asking. What is the fast track of Krishna consciousness? The more we can please our spiritual master and other devotees, bring a smile to their faces and ask their blessing. They don't even have to know, just like because Krishna sees. Krishna sees what we're doing. So by serving the spiritual master's mission, what is the spiritual master doing? What they want to see their mission of giving Krishna to others. So whatever we can do, extra enthusiasm, Krishna will see that. Oh, you could have just watched television for 3 hours, but you used that time to call people and invite them to the Sunday feast. You get extra credit. Oh, you have extra money, so you took $10, 10 pounds, and you gave it to your spiritual master or someone who's preaching Krishna consciousness, or you gave it to the deity. Krishna sees these extra things, this enthusiasm to help the mission of our spiritual master. That's fast tracking. And number 3, besides serving the mission of the spiritual master, there's personal service to any devotee. But it's, the more engaged in Krishna's service, the more Krishna will notice. So just for example, the pujaris who are serving in the temple full time, or anyone who's obviously engaged fully in Krishna, we bring them their favorite fruit. We ask if we can help them do the laundry. Anything, whatever we can do that might help that devotee in their life, that is extra credit. As we discussed last class, Lord Krishna says, one who says my devotee is not, but one who says he's the devotee of my devotee, that is my devotee. So that's an extra credit. And we see in the scriptures that there are examples of devotees who know they're very enthusiastic to do things to please devotees because they know Krishna will be so happy with me, and I need Krishna to be happy with me. Srila Prabhupada said this, that our only business is to act in a way that Krishna notices us. And that's fast tracking. So Krishna will notice us simply by following the basic rules and regulations. And as much as we can show enthusiasm for others, that's extra credit. I'll give a simple example that came to my mind some time ago. That a mother may have 2 daughters. Or, a mother. Doesn't matter, mother, father. So the mother will be pleased if the daughters are respectful and they're obedient and they have affection for her. She'll be completely satisfied. But suppose the mother is very interested to feed people who are hungry. So there's one of the daughters, for some reason, oh, okay. So she decides that she's going to make some kind of drink and sell it. Here in America, I don't know about there, but sometimes children, they'll make a little stand and they'll sell lemonade. Or they'll do some work. So she does that, and then she gives. It may not be very much, but when the mother sees that extra, wow, she's really thoughtful about what I really want in my life. The mother's especially pleased. It's not that she loves that daughter more, but of course it has to touch her heart. So the same thing with our spiritual master in advance, when they see that we care, because it means we care. Just like at places of work, there's employees who just punch the clock and they don't really care so much about the company. They don't care so much about the owner. They just want to get the paycheck. And then there's other employees who stay late, and obviously their heart is in. So our fast tracking means to try and show and act that our heart is in. Yeah. So I pass that along.
Prabhuji, sometimes our heart is not in the process, but still we have to do it, because I heard once somebody said to Srila Prabhupada that I don't feel like paying obeisances to you. So, and then he said, still you do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
even
just
if
like
our
when you
heart
have,
is not,
yeah. Yeah, if we are ill and we're following some diet, we may not feel like eating, but part of the health program is we need to eat certain foods perhaps. So we just have to do it. And then we become well. So yeah. That's one difference between an adult and a child. A child does things that they feel like it. An adult does what they need to do.
thank you, Prabhuji. Are there any other questions or comments? Let's see that
Can I
we are
ask
about.
a question, Kritika Mataji?
Yes, Sandhya. Kindly ask a question.
Hare
Or
Krishna Prabhuji. Sorry, Prabhuji, I'm a bit sad about my brother. But I want to ask a question, actually two questions. Please ignore my getting upset. I didn't think I will, but it's just happening. Prabhuji, a few 2 months ago, I'd asked you a question that my mom was in India and I wanted to really, really go to India. And at that point, I had said to Krishna that, Krishna, I think about my mother more than you, and I want my mom now more than you, and I want my visa. And somehow I did get the visa. And there was another prayer that I used to do to Krishna, that I want my mom to come to me and I want to look after my mom. And I want to do my daughter's duty to my mom. And I want my mom here. My mom never wanted to come to UK because my brother, she used to always want to be with my brother because he was way younger than us. And she used to say, where will I leave my son and come? And I used to always think that I want my mom. No, my brother just strangely just passed away because of God only knows. He just suddenly went. Do you think Krishna was angry with me that I had asked him that my mom is more important than you? And I want to look after my mom. And I don't know how to bring her because she won't come. I really just want to know from you, Prabhuji, that
Yeah.
was Krishna angry with me and he's taken my brother from me?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm very sorry to hear these things. It's very sad. It's very, very sad. And no, Krishna's not angry with you. What did you do? Uh, at this point in our spiritual life, these feelings and the way you're thinking, they're normal. You should not find very much fault with them, but continue to keep Krishna in your heart, and you're doing that. Just live your life, feel the things that you're feeling, and carry on in your practices, and you'll come. Krishna will give you everything that you need gradually. It's normal to have feelings for family relatives in our human life. Krishna's not angry that you prayed like that. That you didn't you didn't actually do anything. You were just having some feelings and thoughts, and Krishna allowed you to get the visa, and now it sounds like your mother may want to come and stay with you. And these are all the workings of very complicated karma. We don't know all the reasons. There are many different things going on at the same time with your mother's karma and your brother's and with your past karma. We don't know all the different reasons. But we try to do our best to be good people and act in a way that Krishna will be happy. And Krishna will take care. Don't worry. Don't worry so much. All right?
Prabhuji, can I ask one more question, please, Prabhuji? Thank you for that answer, Prabhuji, because I think it just kept coming back to me that was it because of my prayer that he was taken away. But no, uh, I've, I've just got the answer from you and I'll stick with that answer because Otherwise, I could not forgive myself. Prabhuji, whenever I want to now pray to Krishna, I just keep questioning him, why Krishna, why? And when I'm praying to Krishna, I only think about my brother. Can I still continue like trying to think of Krishna, even though my brother comes back to my mind and in front of my eyes all the time? And can I still, even if I'm sad, can I still pray to Krishna? Because I heard when Prabhuji said, when you're sad, you should not go to temple. You should,
Well,
but at the minute I am sad.
of course, if we're so emotionally upset that, you know, we're crying and everything inside the temple room, that will you know, distract other devotees. We don't want to go like that. But we should always, always approach Krishna as our best loving father and our best loving friend. And we should talk to Krishna. And if we're feeling a little upset with Krishna, then we should also express our feelings. Yes, just like we would with a father. I'm feeling really upset. I don't understand why you let this happen. I wish I could understand more, but I'm sorry if I'm feeling so angry, but this is the way I feel. And we should talk to Krishna as the person that he is. Or if we're feeling sad, or if we're feeling happy. Oh, Krishna, I got my visa today. It's so nice. I'm so happy. And we tell Krishna, just like we would share it with a friend, or with our father, or with our mother. Krishna, just think for a minute about our parents or a good friend. Sometimes we have become, or it happens, we become angry and we say sometimes harsh words, or sometimes we're in a bad mood, but our friend doesn't mind for it very much. And our parents don't mind for it because they love us and they understand. Krishna is at least as understanding as the most understanding man or woman that you can imagine. All right? Krishna is fortunately not an ordinary person. He has big enough shoulders to handle our feelings. And if we don't express our feelings, then just as when we're angry at our husband or angry at our parents and we don't vent it, we don't express it, it just eats at us like a cancer. Of course, we want to do it as appropriately as possible. But we can express our feelings to anyone. We can go to any superior and say, I'm feeling very hurt. I don't know why you did this. I just feel so upset and stuff.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, Prabhuji, it really helps. Thank you very much.
And then we also ask, oh, Lord Krishna, because of my feelings, it's difficult to think of you. Kindly help me to have strength to see through this. We always go to Krishna, good or bad, just like we would the best friend we ever had. Right? That's what we do with our mom. That's what we do with our father and our friends. We go to them, good or bad. Oh, I got a new job. Or, oh, I lost my job. I don't know what I'm going to do. Right? That's what we do that with Krishna.
Okay.
That's being Krishna. And Krishna will be very happy with us, actually. Krishna will be very happy because we're relating with him, number one, as a person, and number two, that we're having confidence in his kindness and in his understanding.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Are there any other questions? I think we've exhausted our time. But if there's any question, we can ask.
Yes, Mataji, can I please ask a question?
Okay. Yes,
Yes.
go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Last question. Pramila Mataji, you are muted. Mataji, you are muted.
Yes, sorry. Prabhuji, I wanted to ask on the last line of the purport, it says that as soon as one engages himself in the loving service of the, I can't see very well the light. In the service of the Lord, he at once becomes free from the chain of karma. His actions no longer create any reactions. I wanted to know, is that like the present karma that he would have created? Or does that mean when it says the chain of action, does that mean the previous karmic reactions as well?
Yes. The previous reactions from the previous life or even this life are either eliminated or removed, and we're definitely freed from future karmic reactions. So what we're experiencing right now is called Parabda Karma. It's minimized from sins of this life and a previous life. And it depends upon the degree of our devotion. I mean, it's not automatic, of course. Someone puts on devotee clothes and wears tilak and they're free from the chain of karma. You know, we each have to individually, to the degree that we're really engaged fully in Krishna service, acting for his purposes or the guru's purposes, then to that degree, we are freed from karma.
Super. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Pramila Mataji, since you are the last speaker, would you like to end the session? By
Oh, no,
thanking-
Mataji, can somebody else do that, please? Sorry.
Okay. Would anybody like to do that, Seva? Would anybody like to end the session and thank Prabhuji? Panchali?
Yeah, okay, I can try. I've never done it before, but I can try.
Yeah. There's always a first time on this group.
And so thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful teaching as always. We learned about how beneficial it is for us to engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness, serve our Guru, and work towards Krishna becoming our best friend, and surrendering to him completely. So thank you very much for that. And you also clarified quite a few doubts, quite engaging doubts, which further encourages us to go to Krishna as our first port of call. Thank you for that. We now, if I can request all the devotees to unmute themselves and pray for the glorification of Prabhuji. So we first do the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama, Hare Hare.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha sindhu Namo Namaha.
Namo Namaha.
Jai.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Dina Sharana Das Prabhuji ki Jai. Hare Bol.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.